Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how you doing? How's your mama? How's your family? We got the truth about Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Belal Muhammad. This is an MMA Che reaction. I want to speak real quick. A lot of people turn on Shavkat Rakhmonov, and I don't think that's fair. Okay, because you are the ones who overrated him, and I mean, finishing 18 people in 18 fights and losing none is super, super impressive, and you deserve to get a lot of credit. But you are the ones who took it overboard, and now you want to turn on him whenever he doesn't just run through Ian Gary and he's losing scrambles to Ian Gary. And you made it easier for people who weren't really sold on Shavkat to be like, oh yeah, he's overrated. Me, I do think he's overrated. But that does not mean he's a bad fighter. That does not mean he's not a great fighter. I think he's one of the best welterweights in the world, maybe the best. We'll see against Belal Muhammad. Also want to say that I was on Belal Muhammad before Shavkat versus Ian Gary happened. I actually was coming in here preparing to pick Belal Muhammad if that fight would have took place Saturday night. MMA Che was the exact opposite. He also thinks Belal Muhammad ducked Shavkat. So we'll see if he's singing a different tone. MMA Che reaction, I'm going to react like only I could do. Let's get into it.
UFC 310 was certainly an interesting one. I think, look, the real main event was Shavkat versus Ian Gary. I think, Kai versus Pantoja was a very interesting fight on many levels, but, most people were looking forward to Shavkat Gary. I think that was the fight that had the most hype going into it, and I think that's for a number of reasons, one of which being Ian Gary and Shavkat are just such polar opposites on so many different levels. You've got Shavkat, who exclusively eats horse meat. You have Ian Gary, who is a vegan. Shavkat has a very large head. Ian Gary has a very small head.
Was that actually Ian Gary?
Well, I guess that's a troll? Small.
Brother, is that actually Ian Gary? Holy fuck.
Head. I guess that's it. But, regardless, I think you got two undefeated guys who are extremely, extremely skilled going at it. And, of course, this was going to be the most hyped fight. But, it's interesting. I think the reaction post this fight, I think most people are kind of of the mind that, wow, Shavkat might have underperformed. Shavkat didn't look good.
It has come out that Shavkat was on a torn MCL. Did you see it?
Performance. Shavkat now doesn't stand a chance against Belal. But look, I'll be honest with you. To me, there wasn't a ton surprising about this fight, except for the fact that I think Shavkat's striking looked better than I was anticipating.
Same.
I think,
I agree with
my
that.
initial breakdown for this fight, the main point to it was Shavkat Rakhmonov is not a very strong wrestler because of the fact that he comes from a Sambo background. Sambo is not wrestling. It's just a very different grappling art, and it's primarily more judo-based because of the gi jacket. Now, though, without the gi jacket on, you're essentially doing Greco-Roman wrestling, which is just harder to pull off in MMA. And, again, a lot of people are very amazed by Ian Gary's takedown defense in this fight, but I mean,
wasn't surprised.
If you look at the Carlson-Harris fight, you would have seen that, Shavkat struggles at times completing clinch takedowns. I mean, he was lifting Harris in the air and spinning him and jostling him and turning him, and he really struggled taking him down. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he had him pushed up against the fence the entirety of round one and just wasn't able to get anything off. Again, round two was pretty much the same until he eventually switched to a single leg. So to me, it was like, well, Ian Gary is probably going to be able to defend the clinch takedowns. And on the feet, you would give Gary on paper a very big advantage. But honestly, Shavkat's striking, his distance management, his timing all looked really good. I mean, of course, I would have always said that Shavkat is a very dangerous striker. He can throw a very wide variety of strikes. He certainly has power, but he threw
that spinning wheel kick on Ian Gary and just... Boy, my heart dropped to my ass.
One of those guys just to go at you recklessly. He wants to get in your face. He's very willing to eat punches just to land a couple on you. And he's just kind of trying to grind you out. And look, when you're fighting somebody like Geoff Neal or Belal Muhammad, which we will get into later. Those two guys, are shorter, more compact. They want to get on the inside. They want to pressure you. Well, I mean, you would say that Shavkat is a very dangerous matchup for people like that because of how dangerous Shavkat is in the pocket. His short punches have a ton of power. His knees to the body are just vicious. But you look at a matchup against Ian Gary and you'd say, well, if Shavkat went at Ian Gary recklessly, if he just marched at him face first, trying to, close the distance, trying to pressure him, well, Ian Gary has really good footwork, really good distance management. He should have a speed advantage. So he would just move on the outside and try to pick Shavkat apart. But that is not what we saw in this fight. Honestly, Shavkat at times was outboxing Ian Gary on the outside. I mean, look, a lot of people are questioning the decision. I think, though, the first couple rounds,
Shavkat won 1, 2, and 4.
Clearly edged it out because he was the one landing the bigger shots. Of course, 100%. You're going to give Ian Gary round 3 and 5. I think there's no question 100%. There, especially round 5. Round 4 was very, very close, but I think at the very end of that round, Shavkat landed some big ground and pound, and I think he just edged it out. So look, I do agree with the decision. I think it was very, very fair. But one thing that was very, very interesting was
the judges got it perfect, and I'm happy that they did that. They got it perfect. They got it perfect.
4, Shavkat finally shot some traditional double legs, and that is how we got this fight to the ground. Again, when you are shooting a shot on your opponent, they have to address it. They have to deal with it right then and there. But again, when all you're relying is on clinch takedowns, it's just very difficult to build that leverage to off-balance your opponent, especially when they can lean up against the fence. I mean, with that being said, though, this was genuinely a great attempt by Shavkat, and Ian's takedown defense here from the clinch was crazy. Absolutely insane. But again, the double legs, it's different. Your timing has to be so much more precise to defend it correctly. And the shot he took here was so ready for fast.
He wasn't even ready for it. It was great. You see Ian Gary got that underhook. It was ready, but it was too deep.
His legs, switches to a single, uses a cross body to take down Gary, which is exactly what he did to Wonderboy in that fight. And this is where Shavkat was finally finding success on the ground. I've always said one of the best aspects of his game is his top pressure, his pure grappling on the ground. And when he's actually shooting these shots, you finally see that in play. I mean, you see the second double leg he had here in round 4. Ian tries to go for a guillotine, and as he pulls guard with it, Shavkat circles all the way to the other side, just completely that shit was killing the submission. And remember, round 4 was razor close. Shavkat edged that round because of the ground and pound he hit at the very end. If Ian Gary had got a hold of Shavkat's neck and kept him there in a guillotine for the remainder of the round, I mean, again, a submission attempt is considered effective grappling, the #1 criteria the judges are supposed to look at. So he could have easily stolen that round. Though, while it is nice seeing Shavkat go for more effective traditional takedowns, he does depend on that cross-body takedown a little too much because he went for it again round 5, but this time Gary was ready for it, ducks right underneath Shavkat's arm, and it just immediately opens up the back take. If you're going for a single leg, you cannot allow your opponent to get around your lead arm going for this cross-body. There's just no stopping the back take from there. And from this position, Ian was so close to finishing the choke. No matter what fucking Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan will tell you, a neck crank chokes you still, as long as you have it incorrectly. If you turn your face with the neck crank, that is what kills the choke. But the way Shavkat's chin was square to the choke was perfect. But you need to fully lock it in. You either need a really tight fulcrum grip or you need the hand all the way behind your opponent's head.
Bro, he should have went palm to palm.
Ian was close to.
He couldn't hide the hand. He couldn't hide it.
It just wasn't perfect.
It was so close. It was so close.
MMA gloves, it's harder to sneak that hand behind the head. So Shavkat is able to survive where he wins the decision. But again, because of this performance, a lot of people are now asserting that, Shavkat's not beating Belal Muhammad. I mean, there's no way. Based on this performance, he just can't do it. And I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not so sure about that.
I'm more confident in Belal.
I mean, again, I do think Belal has some very clear advantages, but I also think he has some very clear disadvantages. I think the key to beating Belal Muhammad is manage his pressure. When he fought Leon Edwards, the reason he was able to win, the reason why his game and his takedowns opened up so well was because he got in Leon's face, he closed the distance, and Leon could not get him off. He just couldn't do it. He could not keep Belal away from him, and therefore he was making Leon cover up, which opened up the takedowns. But you parallel that when Belal Muhammad fought Geoff Neal. Geoff Neal was just more dangerous. He was a cleaner boxer. He had more power. He was all around just better in the pocket than Belal Muhammad was, and therefore he was able to win the fight. Again, and you look at Shavkat when he fought Geoff Neal. Geoff is somebody who is a better boxer than Belal Muhammad, who has more power, but Shavkat hung in there with him. He ate bombs, landed a ton of shots himself, really hurt him at times. And again,
but these positions like this, when Shavkat's whiffing like that, and Belal's popping that jab and he's landing that right hand, and Shavkat's whiffing like that, look where Geoff Neal is. Look where Shavkat is. This, brother, is what we call a double leg takedown in the center of the octagon, and you're not getting up.
Who has more power, but Shavkat hung in there with him. He ate bombs, landed a ton of shots himself, really hurt him at times. And again, I don't think Belal getting in Shavkat's face and trying to pressure him is the answer. I think that Shavkat's way more dangerous than him there, and I think honestly
he has to, because if he does, getting in his face opens up the takedowns for himself. And then we're gonna have to see Shavkat off of his back, which didn't look that great, but he was able to survive. But we're gonna have to see Shavkat off of his back, and that's just excuse me. I think we're going to see Shavkat's a guy that he's gonna eat your shots, bro. He's gonna have that Max Holloway type of. You're not gonna knock him out, so you're gonna have to beat him by decision, or you're gonna have to take him down and submit him.
Open up Shavkat's game a lot. Of course, though, where Belal does have a big advantage is the pure wrestling. Belal has such a
and he can create scrambles.
It's so smooth.
Double leg.
When he gets his hands locked behind you,
it's over.
I mean, there's not really any answer to the takedown defense. Again, Geoff Neal had some absurd takedown defense against Belal Muhammad. I mean, I don't think Shavkat's going to have defense nearly this good. But again, we've never really seen Shavkat put on his back. We've never really seen Shavkat have to fight off double legs before. It's kind of uncharted territory. But if Belal Muhammad gets his hands locked this deep against Shavkat, most likely Shavkat's going down. I mean, again, look at how fucking jacked Belal Muhammad is. He's huge. He's so strong. And, of course, once Belal gets you down, you turtle to try to get back up, and that's where he slaps the body triangle on you, and now you're stuck for the entire round. I mean, look, it is a tricky puzzle to solve, but on the feet, I really, really believe that Shavkat has the answer to Belal's pressure, though, I mean, that's not a given to win, given the fact that Luque, when he fought Belal Muhammad the second time, was doing a good job dealing with Belal's pressure because, again, Luque is such a dangerous boxer in close as well. But Belal just ended up hitting some wild takedowns off of the back foot. So, again, it's going to 100% come down to, can Shavkat defend the double legs? I think, to me, that is the number one thing here. We already knew that Shavkat probably wasn't going to be able to take Belal down. If you're struggling with Carlson Harris, you're probably going to struggle with Belal. Again, I like the double legs that Shavkat is shooting.
And if Shavkat takes that his usual approach to victory, lean on him in a clinch, lean on him in a clinch. Let's see if we can keep him here in a clinch. I think he's going to give up some of those early rounds and fall behind before he realizes, you know what? Let me just stay in that range and just try to strike with this guy. But at that point, Belal could be building. Belal could be just coming forward. Man,
Belal's takedown defense is so good. I think that with this matchup in particular, you can go back and forth a little bit. I think both guys have some key advantages. But is Shavkat going to be able to stop the double legs? That is the question. The only one that matters.
Good video from MMA Che. Like always, like, comment, and subscribe. What was wrong with the parlay? That's hilarious. Like, comment, subscribe, send this to somebody. Help out the algorithm. Why don't you? What you waiting on? Love y'all, man. You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get up out of here, man.